Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Drinking Talking Animals. Woo! 100th live episode. Here's Harbor Brewing. I'm Bob.
I'm Mark.
I'm George.
And today, we're going to chew this thing up like a bunch of bamboo. How about that?
Yeah, we are. Spit it out.
Big bamboo.
Poop it out.
Yeah, cheech chunk. We're going to talk about poop and penises, so it's going to be a standard show.
Yeah.
And let's get the normal stuff out of the way fast. What are we drinking today, Mark?
We're drinking the new Sturdy Gurdy Double IPA
New Coke.
with an ABV of 8.5, 100 IBUs.
Well,
The
Wow.
malt. The hops are Simcoe, Centennial, and Citra. And the malts are a secret.
Secret malts? Wow.
it is a little malty at the end. I like it though.
Yeah.
It's working.
It's kind of like a friendly pine tree shoved into your mouth, but not down your throat. So it's real piney in the mouth, but it doesn't really go past that. That's
I
right.
like it. It finishes nice and clean.
Yes, it
for
does.
a snack, we're eating Panda's Hello Cracker.
Hello, crackers.
We're eating chocolate, vanilla, it's Hello Panda crackers. Chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry. And yeah,
George's has a butthole.
that's about right.
Totally worth it. I'm glad you showed that to me, George.
The front looks normal, but the other end is the Bible.
Well,
I think that's where they put the cream in.
I agree.
or out.
I'm pretty sure. All right. Since Max wanted this question, let's start with Max today. What are your 5 favorite animals we've covered on this show? I know one of them for sure.
Puffin
Yeah.
Use that one,
is up there. The shoebill stork.
of course.
Because that was your idea.
Yeah. We haven't done dinosaurs yet.
That's true.
But that wasn't the question.
We don't do a lot of extinct animals. At least not yet.
Not yet. We haven't ran out of animals that are still living. I don't know. What else have I said? That's my
Wow,
favorite.
you said you asked us to ask you this
What
question.
show did you completely cover our table with knickknacks for?
Oh, elephants, of
Oh,
course.
whoa.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
your entire apartment is probably covered with elephants.
Yes. I have a lot of elephants at home.
And didn't you just declare your love for a certain
Slimy.
recently?
Oh, the giant Asian salamander.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or is it Asian giant salamander?
The Japanese or
Your choice.
Chinese.
Well, that's 4. So, yeah.
You're close.
Pandas might be 5th.
Well, we'll see. We're going to do our best to dispel that myth today. Informal poll out there, everybody. Raise your hand if you've ever seen a panda at the zoo. We got 3. Nice. Is the panda anyone's favorite animal?
Bobby, are you sure it was a panda?
Jackie. And Bobby, pandas are your favorite animal. No way.
That's a
That's why she's giving George the stink eye.
Yeah. Your Bearcat is correct. That's going to actually come in handy during this show, everybody.
Actually, I like George's shirt. I changed my mind.
Yeah, well, George's was eating raspberries. It's not blood, it's raspberry juice on the panda. Has the plight of the panda inspired any of you to care about the conservation of any animal on this planet?
no.
Yeah, me either. So, we're going to hope to change a few minds today about pandas because there's some pretty shady stuff that happens behind the scenes, and these big cuddly bears are the patsy for that.
Thanks, commies.
We haven't had a commie drop in a while, George. Good call. Let's see. First, we're going to take a minute to do a few shout outs to guests that have been on our show during this ride to 100. who could forget our crossover event that was the Tiger and Tiger King with Charlotte and Tara from Bloodshed and Bruise, episode 20. I'm sure Max can remember editing us out of a bunch of their show. That was a long job, yeah?
Yeah, it was, what, a 4-hour episode that we recorded?
It was somewhere in there. Like,
Wow.
Remember at the point where I stopped them and said, "Hey guys, like maybe we be quiet during the show." And they're like, "No, we're here to have fun. Like, let's do this."
It was terrifying.
It was. That's the one that I don't like to listen to anymore. Sherry Geller brought a snake named Hodor for us to handle when we covered the Gila monster live at the Pacific Northwest Reptile and Exotic Animal Show for episode 39. Sherry was awesome. Hodor was awesome. First time I had a snake wrapped around my neck.
I never touched the big snake.
Nothing you said last night.
I'm glad I brought the bell out for that. Yeah, I believe it though.
Honestly.
Yeah,
Bob actually got French kissed
Yeah.
by the snake in the eye.
I did. The snake licked my eye. That happened. Robbie and Justin Peterson of 1111 Peaks and Pints and The Valley joined us to talk about their Rainier beer movie on episodes 47 and 48. They also did a documentary featuring the surf-related band The Ventures. So that one randomly expanded into 2 episodes,
Yeah.
which were actually awesome.
Yeah, they were.
Our first episode with Suzanne and Shanna from Drinking for Conservation was on episode 63 to support their Head to the Bar for Madagascar event. And we drank an incredible amount of tequila with Mike Schramm on our second trip to the Reptile Show to talk about crested geckos on episode 66. The very knowledgeable and amazing Aaron Dilworth from Communities for a Healthy Bay joined us to talk about forage fish you can find right here in the Puget Sound on episode 73.
She likes snow.
She did. She was crazy knowledgeable, and I believe she now works for the Department of Health. I couldn't find her on the Communities for a Healthy Bay website anymore.
You got to
So, yeah, I believe she has moved on. And she owed us that boat ride.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe I'll reach out. She probably still has a good contact with them. I bet she left under amiable terms. So, anyway, Gig Harbor Brewing's very own brewer Jim, who most likely made what you're drinking right now, unless it's cider, joined us to talk about heroic animals of history on episode 75. Tyler from the Spider Shop in Suite 4 at 7304 Lakewood Drive West was with us to talk about the Chaco Golden Knee Tarantula on the cleverly timed episode 88.
Correct.
Yeah, 8 eyes, 8 legs.
Yeah.
That was clever.
Yeah.
We had a tarantula walking around on the table.
We did. And then we talked about nictitating hairs, and George and I were scared to touch it, but Max handled it, and so did Mark. So they're much better than us.
Yes, we are.
Right. It was amazing. You guys are bosses. We spoke with the incredible Rachel Art Wintgen for Tokay Geckos on our third trip to the Reptile Show. And finally, Suzanne joined us again for episode 99 and became our first ever repeat guest in anticipation for Whiskey for Wapiti. And if you're interested in that event, you can go meet her and probably Shanna too in person at Heritage Distillery from 4 to 7 on September 29th, which isn't going to help you when you hear this show because it comes out after this. But for those here live, if you're interested and you like whiskey, the Elk Rider Rye was fantastic.
Woo! You forgot to mention on Potato Bug.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Woo!
Yeah.
Potato
Oh my
bug.
Well, I didn't write that down. Yeah, he was doing his weird like Sling Blade character. You know the one he does.
Yeah.
I'm John. I'd like to talk about potato bugs. Right. I've got it down.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Do we have an external microphone for the audience today, Max? So they can handle that one if they so please. And we're also going to thank everyone here tonight and the folks that follow us on our social media at Drinking and Talking Animals on Instagram and Facebook.
Yes.
Their
Yeah.
legion.
Yeah, our legion of fans. Correct.
Horde.
Right. Yeah. Are you saying hordes?
Horde with a D. Horde.
Okay. Well, just clarify. I have no idea how long this show is going to take today, and we're skipping a whole lot because if we talked about the history of how the panda was discovered, that would take an hour on its own. And believe it or not, the sons of Teddy Roosevelt were one of the first to go into China and shoot a panda to prove they were real. To people that were
Somebody had to
non-believers.
do it.
Yeah, exactly. That's just a weirdo fact about these guys, and we're going to find out a whole lot more. And I'm going to roll through basics pretty quick. Mark's going to tell us where we can find them, and then we're going to open up the mic for questions and anyone that has any strange or unusual panda facts they'd like to share. If you had an experience, whatever. If you had a weird dream about pandas,
Pandas
just
get
grab
out.
the mic. Yeah, tell us about it. We want to know. The name panda is believed to come from the Nepali word panya, meaning bamboo eater or bamboo footed. And the most important thing you'll learn today is pandas are bears. Weird ass, mostly vegetarian bears, but bears nonetheless. And even scientists don't think they should be vegetarians and place them in the order Carnivora. And I'm sure when you hear the word Carnivora, you immediately think of something that eats meat.
Yep.
And you're right, unless you're a panda. They get a little bit in the wild and captivity, and we'll get into that a little bit later. They reside in the family Ursidae. That word comes from Latin ursus, referring to he-bears, and ursa, the she-bears. So it's a male and female thing. Ursus is actually, I believe, the mainly typical bears use the female form of the word, which is weird. There's only 8 extant species of bears, and they run the spectrum from the mostly carnivorous polar bear to the mostly herbivorous panda bear, and everything in between are omnivorous and eat a wide-ranging diet.
So when the polar bear eats you, it's gonna introduce with the right pronoun.
Correct. Yeah. It's a he, they, them.
Watch out.
The genus is Aleropoda, and that comes from the Greek words aleros, which means cat, and podos, which means foot. And that only makes sense when you know that rather than having round pupils like other bears, they have vertical slits like a cat's eye. Vertical slit.
Didn't know that.
Sorry, I got it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I had to do
Hey, do you know what the difference between a panda and a polar bear is?
it. No.
About 1,000 miles.
There you go. My dad laughed at that one. Yeah, and my dad's here tonight, everybody. He flew in from Arizona. Just to listen to a moron talk about pandas.
And then his
Yeah,
arms are
good
tied.
call, Dad. Yeah, totally worth it. Yeah, hope you didn't spend more than $400. Let's see. Also, those vertical slits provides them with pretty decent night vision, just like a cat. So that's important because
You gotta
pandas.
sneak up on bamboo.
Yeah, bamboo's very elusive. And when we talk about how they do their day, they basically spend several hours eating, a couple hours napping, several hours eating, a couple hours napping. Right. It's a fun life.
Well, isn't there like their peak hours, midnight, 6 in the morning, and like 5 in the evening?
Sure.
Something like that. Well, because they're
They play video games.
yeah, that's their peak eating hours.
Right. And when they log on to Call of Duty.
Yeah, it is.
In Chinese, they're called Da Zhang Mao, and that translates to large bear cat. Thank you for that, Bobby. Bear cat. I can't believe anybody knew that. And remember that for the end of today's show. And finally, the species is Aleropoda melanoleuca. In ancient Greek, melos means black, and leukos means white. What a surprise way to name this animal, huh? And our very own Mark could be described as melanoleuca when it comes to following rules, because he's the only person I know that uses cruise control at 30 miles an hour in Tacoma.
But
Yeah.
he doesn't.
Well, that was for your benefit.
He doesn't stop often though.
I've told him since the beginning, if we can do one thing in our journey together on this podcast, it'll be to find the gray area between the black and the white. And he's doing a better job at it. I think he's loosening up on some of his firmly held beliefs and rules and blah, blah, blah. So, you know.
Some of what we're doing is a mission of
You're
humility.
doing okay.
It's a mission of humility.
That's true. Add another Melanoleuca to the end of the species, and you get the name of the standard black and white panda subspecies we all know and love, minus George. And I don't think it would be necessary to even make that a subspecies had scientists not decided to add the King Lingonensis to the end of the species name in 2005 to describe the extremely rare Kinling panda. And Max just brought up a picture. No, they are totally a subspecies of panda. And the reason why, if you're looking at the picture on the screen, they have smaller skulls, and wherever you'd find black on a standard panda, replace it with light and dark browns except for the eyes. The brown color is only under the lower lids and doesn't surround the eyes, creating the characteristic spots that a standard panda has. And
they eat a wider range of food, and
they don't.
No.
I don't think they eat a wider range of food, but there's only one in captivity. So there's
Yeah.
only one place in the world you can go and see
And that would
a
be in
Kinling
China.
is
panda.
that the one?
The brown one, yes. Right. It's hard to tell the difference, isn't it? Right.
No.
And they also think that there's a possibility for the brown maybe because they've always been in such a limited range and there's not a lot of genetic material that they may be becoming a lot of inbreeding.
Mm.
So
They
why
may-
not?
it may have been
That
a
always goes
It
well.
may have been a mutation that showed up a while ago, but hasn't been able to resolve itself
Then why not give them some genes from the other ones? I
because
don't get it.
They don't fit.
Well,
it's a whole different thing when it comes to mating. It's
and I believe that wild populations, you're only looking at about 15% are the brown and white version versus your standard
It's
black
like
and
a
white
ginger
version.
bear.
It's pretty much, it's the U of pandas. Very inbred.
Left-handed.
Yeah, left-handed weirdo.
I know numbers.
That's true. And
Works at a print shop.
right, exactly. He can tell you Pantone colors off the top of his head. The number even nails it every time. They're also smaller overall. And just to cover all the bases here, scientists used to think that the red panda was closely related to the giant panda, and now they aren't even classified as a bear and are the sole member of their very own family, which I won't name.
no, we won't because we may be covering them later.
That's true. Red pandas are pretty cool.
They are
Yeah. Where would we find them, Mark?
red pandas.
No.
Oh,
Pandas.
pandas.
Yeah.
We're gonna find them
Like the
in
mountains
China.
of China.
Now, the dominant subspecies is going to be in a few mountain ranges in Sichuan, and then neighboring Shanxi and Gansu.
Hmm.
And then
Hang on, Jim.
the Qinling panda is only found in the Qinling Mountains.
Yep.
And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and they're definitely separated from the other large
By a
populations.
large, yeah.
Right.
And they're a more typically a higher elevation animal too.
And I think that they actually migrate from colder to warmer just for bamboo at some point, right?
Yes.
They move down the mountain.
They move down the mountain when it's when the-
Cold.
well, not necessarily cold, when that type of bamboo is no longer producing shoots.
Eats, shoots, and leaves.
Yep.
You ever read that book?
No.
Me either. All right, moving on. If anyone has any questions, comments, stories, facts, personal experiences they'd like to talk about and share, approach the mic. And from here on out till the end of the show, if you have a question or comment, just approach the mic and we'll address them as we go. But we'll move into go ahead. Are you going to do the weird voice? Do it.
No. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Drinking and Talking Animals for allowing Gig Harbor Brewing Company to host your show every Sunday morning here at Gig Harbor Brewing Company.
Yeah. We should thank you for that.
No. It's always my pleasure to have you guys in here, and I always try to be as quiet as possible so I don't ruin this show when I'm here.
Right.
And
Pretty hard to ruin our show.
I do my best to try to ruin it. But you guys do a pretty good job of that. So thanks again for being here. Congratulations on your 100th episode. It's amazing that you guys have come this far. You've matured so much since the beginning.
Aren't I?
And I hope you have your 200th show here at Gig Harbor Brewing Company.
Yeah, that's all we can hope for.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the awesome part today is Max is also set up on the tiny table that we used to set up in the storage room here and huddle around to do the early episodes of this show. And who would have expected that a tiny fish that likes to invade sea cucumber buttholes would have been the inspiration for 100 episodes of this show?
Woohoo!
Right, exactly. That's the pearl fish, everyone. Go listen to that. And it's actually jumped up quite a bit. I think it's right behind the flamingo as our second most downloaded episode.
Why
which is
wouldn't the
weird.
pearlfish be behind the flamingo?
Yeah. I mean, they're evolving all the time. If the pearlfish figures out how to get into the flamingo, we're in trouble. Hey. Yeah, they're going to be all over the place, right? The average length of pandas is right around 4 feet to just over 6 feet long, and that includes a cute little 4 to 6 inch tail. They can be 2 to 3 foot tall at the shoulder, and males can weigh in as much as 350 pounds. That would be probably in captivity. Females are usually 10 to 20% less. The average weight of all pandas as a whole is 220 to 250 pounds. But you find a lot of them are right around 100 pounds. They're not huge bears, but you could take one on. You wouldn't want it to bite you, but you could wrestle one to the ground and probably have a grand old time as long as you lure it away from your jugular with bamboo.
Says you.
They don't want your meat. They want bamboo.
They want my meat.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why you're banned from most zoos in this area.
Fine stuff.
Their black markings occur on the ears, limbs, shoulders, and of course around the eyes, and they're white everywhere else. Scientists believe the colorization is for camouflage, but don't really know for sure how the pattern evolved.
I don't think they give a crap.
Well, I mean, they don't have any real natural predators. Their babies
The
do.
Chinese ate all the tigers, so that's it.
Well, yeah. Well, they just wanted them for the penises.
The tigers, yeah.
For virility and to cure a bunch of things that don't really work.
No, that was their only predator.
Yeah.
Well,
and-
no, the babies are also eaten by
Eagles?
eagles, yellow-throated martins, and leopards.
Yeah. And do they have black bears in China?
They have a sloth bear.
A sloth bear.
No, they have tons of black bears in China, and they're on a farm, and they use them to get the bile out of them.
That's a whole.
They're horrific.
There is a native bear in there.
Yeah. They're
Okay. Well, that's good. Their skin is roughly twice as thick as ours, and their furry coats keep them warm in cool forests they inhabit and look cool when they go out to the clubs. So, in the black light, they glow. A lot of people don't know that.
No, they do not.
Well, how do you know? You ever seen a panda in a black light? Okay. There we
Just
go.
last week.
And much like the man that Inigo Montoya was searching for in The Princess Bride, they have 6 fingers. It's more like 5 fingers in the thumb, but the thumb is a modified sesamoid bone that allows them to grasp the bamboo they eat. And it isn't opposable like ours, it just performs a function. The function is grasping, which is amazing.
Like an extra.
Like, you can hold bamboo? Wow, you have really made it after all. Right. Humans have been found to have as many as 42 sesamoid bones. The largest one that we have in our bodies is our kneecaps or patellas.
Yeah.
Those are actually sesamoids. And just to drive this into the ground, and because I bet you didn't know it, the word sesamoid comes from the Arabic word sesamum, And that's where we get the word sesame, because most of the sesamoids in our body are small and resemble sesame seeds.
So it should be open sesame.
Open sesamoid, correct.
There we go.
Yeah. And Max, I'm pretty sure you probably know what time it is right now.
Oh, yeah. Cuddle up next to me, I'm all furry and I got an extra thumb to stick where the sun don't shine. Because right now it's time for mating with Mark. Oh my god!
Oh my god.
Why do I always feel so dirty?
Look at this.
Oh, there you go. There's a sesame flag.
It's Panda Snack Butthole.
Now, pandas are solitary with fixed home ranges and only come together during the breeding season, which happens to be
It
mid-February
happens on a lot of breeding seasons, doesn't it?
and through mid-May. Now, most of the females go into estrus in mid-March and mid-April. Now, they communicate with each other with vocalizations and scent markings. Now, what the males will do is they'll stand up on their hind legs and rub their anuses up on the trees, because the guy that gets it up the highest is the biggest.
Couldn't you just climb up and rub it
No,
out?
that's not how they work it.
Too much work.
Too much work.
Seems like you could find the saddle of a branch.
And the female also does similar things, only she sticks to the ground and rubs against the base of the trees and on rocks. Now, they leave the secretion they leave is very smelly and is produced by their anogenital glands.
Genitalia.
Yeah. Where's that located?
In their anus.
Creepy voice.
Now, the males hone in on the female's audio and olfactory cues. Now, 3 to 4 males will actually converge on one female. She basically leaves her scent marks around the outer skirts of her ring. And once the male starts showing up, she hops up into a tree. And then the males start having a competition.
Right.
Now, they will bark at each other. They will growl at each other.
I bet you can't climb that tree.
No, they don't do no tree climbing. And they actually will, they're sizing each other up, and then they will actually do some combat. They will swipe at each other, attempt to grab the nape of their fellow foe. And then once the male has proven his dominance, he chases all the others away and protects the female from any. Now, when she is in her estrus, which lasts for no more than 48 hours, she climbs down from the tree, she chirps, and backs towards the male.
Oh.
Beep, beep. Not quite that, but yeah.
Delivery.
Now, once
We've got some Sanyo widescreen televisions.
are you done? Probably not.
What? You've got 2 more pages, I heard.
Yeah. Now, once she is backed up and they decided, now, there's an issue. Male pandas have the smallest penis proportionate to their body size.
See, I
only
googled that.
1/4 of an inch.
No. What I had read is that is one of the biggest wives' tales about pandas, because the average was 1.5 to 4 inches, even in captivity. These things have been measured.
And I pulled this off of a couple,
What?
not
In
again.
captivity, they've been pulled off a lot
Yeah.
because they're mostly artificially
Oh,
inseminated,
yeah.
and they
All right.
use
I read up on that.
electro stimuli in their buttholes to produce the semen they use to artificially inseminate
No,
females.
the-
And one panda actually died during that process.
Well, anyway,
They said
Yeah.
it took a couple of days until their appetite came back.
Here's where I'll dispel the myth completely. Pandas have been successfully breeding for 70 million
oh
years.
yeah.
If it was a quarter-inch long, they would have died out a long, long time ago.
Well, there's
most humans.
she
Yeah.
basically there's a specific posture the female gets into.
Uh,
She literally drops her front forward, bows her spine, and then lifts her tail up. And then once the male mounts on her, she shoves herself back onto him.
Hmm.
Just to make sure that he's in there.
I've seen videos like that.
Yeah, I bet you have. The actual act of breeding
Yeah.
takes anyway from 30
Yeah,
seconds.
Like John's
to
like
4
that
minutes.
sparked a memory.
Do you have any idea how many babies does the female give birth to at one given time?
Generally
Is it
one.
more than one?
This is a sad story,
Yeah,
actually.
They
Wild,
can actually have 2,
yeah,
but she lets one starve to death.
Why?
in the wild.
Why would they do that?
It's because they
Their
don't produce
food
enough.
sucks ass.
I actually think it's quite literally possible that it's Chinese bullshit. Because they take one
No,
of the they
not
take
in the
one of
wild.
cubs.
Not in the wild.
No, they take one of the cubs all the time.
And
Right.
yeah, but not in the wild. They don't.
That's because they have to.
But in the wild, they basically.
Bullshit.
No, this is a true thing that happens in the panda world because
I know,
they
but
only get 17% of the nutrition from their food, so they do not have the ability to
Backstory.
raise 2 cubs.
No,
Yeah.
I understand.
And their milk's green, everybody.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
milk is green
What?
because they only eat bamboo. They have green titty milk, just like the last Star Wars.
That's blue.
Yeah, Luke likes it. Jeez.
Now,
White enough.
after they're done mating, the male and the female will bleat like a goat, and then he falls backward, pulling the female back with him to what she's sitting onto his lap. Now they don't know why he does it, but he holds on to her for as long as possible.
It's called Afterglow, Mark.
Yeah, it must be. Now he may hang around and they may mate 2 to 3 more times before the time is up. Now, when the babies are born, they are pink and hairless, and they're born after 95 to 160 days. And the reason for the variability is because the fertilized egg may not drop onto the uterine wall for a while. It will sometimes hang.
Yeah,
Delayed pregnancy.
diapause.
Yeah, diapause.
Mhm.
I don't know how that goes.
Yeah,
Now, babies
more
are
like menopause.
Babies are typically born in August. The female picks either a natural den or a hollowed out tree, which she lines with branches and soft grasses and forms a nest. When it's born, it weighs between 3.5 to 4.5 ounces.
Mhm.
And it is also one of the most proportionately small animals of the placental mammal.
Yeah, 0.01% the weight of its mother.
Or 1/800th.
Yeah, what I read is they're born pink, about the size of a stick of butter.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
And the butter will weigh more.
I like
Right. Yeah, butter's got a lot more fat in it than
Yeah.
a panda, that's for sure.
Now,
I was curious if the panda baby is so small, does mama have a pouch?
no.
No, they're not marsupials.
She
It's
picks
for
them
sure.
up and she will literally lift it up and just suckle it.
But only one.
It's like
Yeah.
good luck.
And George totally, just to go back to that for a second, he's not wrong. In captivity, when they have twins, one baby is always taken away from the mother because a mother panda will only raise one cub. So the other one has to be reared by hand, and they have a bunch of weird ass crap that goes on
What they do
with
is
this.
switcheroo.
Well-
They'll just switch them out,
And
and the mom doesn't know.
Yeah.
They just keep switching.
Well, they can switcheroo, but also the handler that's involved with this wears a panda suit and like literally takes the place of the mother. And the babies are, how much do you remember about 1 to 6 months old? You don't. So it goes that way for pandas too. Anything that's like got a black and white pattern, they're like, Mama. You pull the string, Mama.
Sorry, it's an orca.
Right. I don't know if an orca could raise a panda, but that could be incredible.
They would like them.
Yeah, they'd be delicious snacks.
Now,
Whoa.
in 1 to 2 weeks after birth, the black marks will start appearing on the skin where the black hair is going to eventually grow out. And they, as they're growing their hair in, the female, because of her licking on them, that hair will actually turn pink due to a chemical reaction with the saliva.
Huh.
So there will be pink fur, and I've seen pictures of that even with ones in captivity.
Pink fur.
They start crawling at about 75 to 80 days and start nibbling on bamboo at 6 months. They stay with the mom for 18 to 24 months, and they still suckle or still nursing up to a year. Now, females typically give birth every 2 years. Males are mature at 8 years, females at 4. They can live into their 20s in the wild and actually reproduce into the 20s in captivity. And in captivity, they can live 30 plus years. The longest one being Ying Ying at 38 years.
Yeah. Did read that.
But they also think that they're figuring out that the possibility why pandas do not breed readily in captivity is the fact that there isn't the domination thing,
They don't like being captured.
and the female isn't.
Right.
The
There's-
males they're producing to them are not dominant males, so
Yeah.
she's like, I don't want this. Stay away from me.
Yeah, there's
No,
there's
that's-
no natural
There's
selection.
there's no natural selection. There's
Right.
no.
It's like you get this panda.
So as we know,
No.
they all
Right.
Chinese made a workaround on that, obviously. So they do artificial insemination.
Well, this is weird. Like you and I are going to disagree a little bit when it comes to some of this stuff because a lot of the breeding centers in China are a bunch of males surrounded by few females, and it works the same way a little bit the way it does in the wild. When they do natural breeding, they do
No, that's Chinese. growth.
do some artificial insemination. And some of these
No,
tricks
it's
they've
the-
learned from us.
It's the primary one. That's how you get a whole table full of little baby pandas all rolling around at the same time.
But-
they're artificially inseminated.
But they are doing, and this isn't just Chinese propaganda, it's American scientists going over there and studying it, are doing the natural, they're deciding that the natural ways, because even with artificial insemination, they were still having low birth rates.
Yeah.
Never believe the communists.
But
here's another thing. And Mark hasn't touched on this yet, and I don't want to step on your
go for it,
toes.
just go for
But
it.
when a female goes into estrus, there's a butter zone of around 24 to 72 hours in which a female panda can get pregnant once per year.
Yeah,
So finding
yeah.
finding the exact right
I
time,
did mention
nice, to inseminate a panda is important. But pandas in the wild, their noses are sensitive enough when they smell
Oh, yeah.
the female urine, they know now's the time.
that. Yeah.
So they'll be
So-
really good at it.
But they've been doing it for 70 million years,
That's why they're really
George.
good at it.
You're right.
So there should be a whole bunch of them.
Well, there used to be 100,000,
I have a
according
question.
to estimates.
How many? What's the estimate of how many wild pandas?
No, it's
Oh.
an exact number.
This is a fun number. This is going to be right in George's wheelhouse. Tell it, George.
1864.
Preach it. As
Exactly.
of what? 2014, 15
Yes.
census?
2014, and somehow they couldn't, and there's no way they could possibly count them by now.
Right.
I actually read some things that are estimating it's between 2,000 and 3,000 wild ones.
I'm gonna go.
I believe
I'm gonna
that.
go 3,500.
Right. I totally believe it as well.
They have no idea how many there are.
Yeah.
And no one's
If,
telling.
if you were to Google that, how many wild pandas are there? You would find 1,864 on every single article you
Yeah.
read. It's the weirdest and most inappropriate number that's ever been purported.
It's entirely proof that the Chinese manipulate the whole entire panda world. Honestly,
Correct.
it is.
I believe that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we have no idea how many there are.
I mean,
I think there's 600 in captivity.
I think they're doing some good things, but they're also doing a lot of
They
bad.
don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about it. Actually.
Well, we'll get to it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. George's like, absolutely not. I don't believe that
I
at all.
hate this part of the whole panda.
Well, let's. Are you done with the mating yet, Mark? Or
I am so done.
do they still have more weird finger stuff going on?
No weird finger stuff.
Yeah, that's just
That's
for the
just for,
bamboo.
that's just for grasping the bamboo.
Correct.
No,
Yeah.
actually, he didn't cover the weird finger stuff enough
Go ahead.
because as far as the artificial insemination, one scientist, and it came off like she had like massage or something, and she put the finger in the butt of the panda, and she was surprised because it got its appetite back like in 2 days after the act.
Well, who doesn't?
So it's
I'm always hungry afterwards.
either he really didn't like it or really did like it.
Right. Well, and they're using electrical stimulus to
This was just a digital.
just a digital, animal husbandry act of
Kind of like
amazingness.
kind of like
Right?
what they do for bulls. That's how they
Yeah.
start bulls.
Like, how do you get that job?
Well, go feed your blue
I just wanted to say that I think mating with Mark is my new favorite segment of the show.
Nah.
And also, I have another question. What's the main reason for panda decline?
This is going to be an interesting topic.
In the wild.
Well,
I know.
it's kind of like famine, the loss of their major predators, and a bamboo die-off that happened not that long ago.
I
To
have
be
more to
honest.
add to that.
Go ahead.
Chairman Mao in the late 50s
I hate that guy.
decided that he was going to get people that were in the cities out into the country and then industrialize every inch of China into steel making. So if you look at a map of China, there's little pinpricks that are almost 8 miles apart all through the whole entire thing, the whole entire country. And he spread the population out, and it was to take advantage of all of the wilderness that was in the country. So he's direct influence on the pandas.
Right.
So basically, it was deforestation.
And
Yeah.
and they like to they chalk it up as that it's just population growth, but that's not what it was. He forced people out into the wilderness and said if wilderness is just out there, it's just useless.
Right.
And unless it can be put into use, it doesn't mean anything. And pandas are that right now.
And I think to a certain extent, he segregated pandas to where their major wild populations are today, right?
I'm just talking about the use of the land in general.
Right.
The-
But
the-
that's still fragmentation. You're building roads.
and
you're
if-
separating habitats.
If you look at Google Earth and you zoom down on any part of China, you're going to find like the equalization of little tiny dots all over the whole entire thing. That it was total destruction of
Right.
wilderness.
It was like my face in 7th grade.
No, total destruction of
Like
wilderness.
zits everywhere.
It
Lord.
was horrible. And,
Yeah.
and the obviously the toll on human population was worse.
Right.
Between 15 million and 70 million people died because of that policy.
Wow.
And it's just a destructive thing to the whole environment, and it's incredible that there's any pandemic
Right.
in any animal. People are starving. They'll eat everything all the time.
Yeah. I mean, they're lucky that quarter-inch penis thing became a rumor
Oh yeah,
because they would have eaten all of them if they were, tigers.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah. It was the long dong bear. It would be different.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That's a province we're not going to talk about today. Let's get into some behaviors.
Glad I could help.
Yeah, thank you, George. That was incredible. The Guangdong province of China. Pandas eat bamboo. And the largest reason why is because it's abundant and there seems to be plenty for all of them out there. And I don't know if you talked about this because I, sometimes tune you out.
Welcome to my world.
What is the average panda's territory like? Because I think I read it was somewhere between 1 and 3 miles is what
Correct.
they need of,
Correct.
of bamboo
Yeah.
forest.
Yeah, females tended to have a smaller territory, males tended to have a larger one.
Yeah.
And yes,
I mean, sort of.
female just will chase other females out of their territory. So it's completely territory
Ish.
protected.
And just to go back to George immediately, why is there a lack of meat in China, George?
They're hungry.
Well, wasn't there a famine and they pretty much ate everything they could and kind of wiped out most of the available meat sources in the country?
So
And that probably happened more than you think throughout history.
there's one time it was pretty thorough. Chairman Mao created a situation where people had to go out in the wilderness and eat anything they found, and that literally is true to this day, and it's still going on.
Right.
There's no chance for large animals to exist in China.
I mean, pandas are the largest animal that exists in China now, right?
No,
Right.
tiger. There are tigers in China.
What? Like in zoos?
We can pretend that they live there, but
All right, moving on. Fossil dating and analysis of their teeth has shown that they used to eat a very meat-heavy diet until they suddenly changed into vegetarians about 2 million years ago.
that is strange.
Yeah, scientists determined that somehow their TAS1R1 taste receptor gene was turned off, and this is what makes things taste meaty and lets MSG give you those delicious umami flavors. If you think you're allergic to MSG, you're not. You eat MSG all the time. It's naturally occurring. You're not allergic to MSG. Even when a Chinese restaurant says that they don't use MSG, it doesn't matter. It's naturally occurring. So you still get a little bit of it.
There you go.
And by the way, TAS1R1 stands for Taste 1 Receptor Member 1, which would be a cool band name.
That's awesome.
But that's as deep as we're going to go on genetics today. The downside is they have the short gut of a carnivore, and that means they're only getting around 17% of the total nutrients available in that food source. And there's a reason why most herbivores have multiple stomachs. That is to extract as much as possible from plant materials, and that also means having the ability to digest fibrous material and convert cellulose into sugar with enzymes, acids, and bacteria,
Right, so-
and some other processes we aren't going to go into. Go ahead.
When they originally started the breeding program, they were trying to upgrade the nutrition of the pandas, and they were forcing a little bit of protein on them. They give them meat, eggs, and they
Fish.
started losing weight more and more and more. And finally, they just gave up on it and gave them the eat the weeds, and they got fat. And so they just honestly can't handle the protein.
Which is weird because we're going to get into a little bit of extra stuff here.
Yeah.
The panda does rely on bacteria to get the little bit they can from bamboo, and that's because the enzymes they produce in their gut are still there to break down meat, which they don't eat anymore.
Very limited.
And they're not lazy, they're just tired. The range of how much bamboo they can eat in a day can vary among individuals from 26 on the low end to 84 pounds for your largest adult males a day. And they spend up to 12 hours a day eating, and that's just to maintain the energy they need to eat. So you're eating to be able to eat. And it's a weird life. It's a hard knock life. 4 pounds.
And it's kind of weird is that the bamboo shoots actually are 32% protein. The shoots, not the leaves, the shoots, which is why that's the one part they really want to eat.
Right. And they're very particular among individuals, and that's been found. I think there was one captive panda that they ended up having to import 20 different species of bamboo because it was so picky. The other 12 hours of their day is spent either sleeping, being lazy, or pooping.
Oh yeah.
And when you can only digest 17% of your food and you eat that much, you poop a lot. And what would a drinking and talking animal show be if we didn't talk about poop? Totals are all over the place, but one source said they can poop up to 62 pounds per day. Yeah, that's worthy of applause. And that means pushing a green ball of poop out of your butthole every 15 to 20
the size
minutes.
of a baked potato.
Yeah, a baked potato, green baked potato every 15 to 20 minutes.
And it's like 40 times a day.
And the majority of that is undigested
Yep.
bamboo. And they even poop while they eat and sleep. So that's important to know.
Yeah.
So do I.
Right. Yeah, we all do. Right.
Speak for yourself.
Right. They can also generate more than 100 pounds a day of pure waste while eating because they're mainly after the shoots and leaves. So everything else that they pick apart is just discarded. And they also have a really rough, almost like cat-like tongue that they use to scour the outside rind of the bamboo off for all intents and purposes.
Basically, taking the outside hull off to get to the nice, sweet, juicy stuff inside.
Yeah, like we all do.
Yeah, you know.
All right. And the last thing I have on this is that a bamboo diet is also why these bears don't hibernate. They can't store enough fat to take a really long nap like their relatives. And in the wild, they've been known to eat carrion and some little things that they catch, or they incidentally eat insects that are on their bamboo. Yeah, right. Yeah, accidentally. And in captivity, they do get a better variety of a diet that includes fruits, eggs, and fish. And it's not 100% effective, but that's what they do.
They said that if they decrease the amount of protein, they got fat.
Well, they were giving them too much protein because back in the day they really hadn't figured out that the bulk of what they were eating was bamboo. They didn't figure, well,
That's when Richard Nixon picked up a couple.
72 when they opened it up and they were gifted
Right.
back in the day. Did you know that
we
they
should have made a whole bunch of them. They'd be going through people's stash.
they eat about 0.846 to 1.02 grams of cyanide a day. It's
Really?
in the bamboo.
In the bamboo?
In the bamboo. So they've actually developed a anti-toxic mechanism that takes 80% of the cyanide and metabolizes it into the less toxic triacynate, and then it's peed out. And then the other 20% is detoxified by other means and pooped out.
Nice.
So yeah, so apparently there's cyanide in that there. Some of that stuff.
So they're good at not poisoning themselves on a
Apparently, yeah.
daily basis.
Yeah.
Like, thanks, evolution.
So where are we at?
I think at this point, does anyone have anything they'd like to add? Questions?
Boo.
Your call. I would say this reminds me a little bit of my heritage in Arizona. My dad's here tonight, as I mentioned already. When the Pima and some of the other native desert Indians were introduced to more carbohydrates, they are very susceptible to diabetes and things like that. And I can almost imagine that this could be true with the panda.
Yeah.
That when they're exposed
I
to
believe that.
better sources of easily digestible carbohydrates,
Mhm.
they would have a tendency to gain weight. And I don't know why we're not trying that, because what would be the harm in figuring out, hey, we got these couple of pandas that are segregated in this particular zoo. We're going to get them fat as hell and see if they hibernate.
Why can't we
Be like,
steal
that's worth it.
But they weren't eating it. That was part of the issue.
Well, you gotta give it a little bamboo scent on it. Right. Get a little spritzer. Yeah, come on now.
And each general area of they're actually
Say
regulated.
genital area?
General.
All right.
They're regulated to
We're back.
four different species of bamboo in their area.
Yeah.
Man, they'll even bamboo they get.
No,
Yeah.
we already proved it on
No,
that
they
one.
will.
I would also call bullshit on this as well, because there was one article I read where this dude lobbied and lobbied for years to get a pair of pandas into Ireland. And what they figured out is they got a male panda that was so picky that they had to bring in 20 different species of bamboo to get this dude to eat, because he
And
would,
that's
he
because
would
they
cast
needed,
away.
right, but what it was is they needed to find the type he was going to eat. Now, the San Diego Zoo, they grow multiple species of bamboo, and they were shipping out bamboo to various other zoos that their pandas would eat.
Mhm.
So they're very regulated to the 4 types in their area.
Well, and even George said, once they experienced the big bamboo die-off that killed a bunch of pandas back in those days through basically like a bamboo famine.
Yeah.
Well, it's just
Even
the flowering.
even China,
It's the flowering.
right? Explain that a little bit, George.
Well,
That's an interesting part of this whole thing.
Bamboo as a group, if you have a big patch of it, it goes through a flowering cycle. And some might be 20 years, 80 years, 160 years. And once it happens, the entire cohort, so all like your entire lawn will die.
Yeah.
In 160 years.
Right.
And that's it. And there'll be seeds, and they'll fall down. Maybe they'll grow, maybe they won't.
Yeah. But as goes the bamboo, as goes the panda.
Right, as it's been for thousands of years.
Yeah. So there's probably been many events of this that have happened.
Oh, yeah.
I know that you said specifically that the Chinese have brought in multiple species of bamboo to make sure that can't happen again.
And
because,
why not? Because it's so easy to grow.
Right.
This is not the mystery tree of the world.
Right. And this is where we're going to get into some freaking crazy crap about pandas. Because if you have a panda, you're paying $1 million per panda per year to have a panda. Because all pandas are owned by the Chinese government. If there's a panda in the United States, guaranteed, they're paying $1 million a year to have that panda. And if those pair of pandas have one panda or twin pandas, those pandas immediately become the property of the Chinese government, and you're paying for those pandas as well. But the upside of it is, every zoo that has ever gotten pandas has gotten immediately about a 70% increase in the amount of visitors per year for every zoo that has pandas. And if you manage to have a baby in captivity, your numbers increase even more so than that.
China loves you.
Yeah. Please have a panda joke.
How did the panda lose its dinner?
I don't know.
He was bamboozled.
I agree.
Yeah. We've all been bamboozled.
Why do pandas have fur coats?
I don't know.
They look bad in denim.
Yeah, that's true. Nah. Everyone looks bad in denim. Except for you, Mark. Correct.
Uh-oh.
Earlier you said that pandas eat meat sometimes.
Uh,
What kind of meat would they eat?
in the captivity they get, and I guess if you count eggs as meat, that's one, but fish is another. So it's mostly supplemented. They get a bamboo heavy diet, supplemented by fresh fruits,
Yeah.
fish, and well, in the wild they eat carrion,
Yeah.
but you know, it's
No, in captivity.
yeah,
not,
eggs, fish, fresh fruits.
And again,
Those-
the eggs and fish are like very small, minor amounts. It's just
It's accidental.
Well, it's purposely fed in
But
captivity.
in the wild, they would accidentally get that protein.
Right. Well, there were some reports of, you know, them actually like eating some birds.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think if a bird was near your mouth and you happen to wake up, you're gonna eat a bird,
I
right?
don't see that.
Right.
I don't see that.
They've actually.
Right.
I do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And we already talked
I'm
about
laying
it.
on my back, and the bird went into my mouth.
Yeah. I was snoring. Yeah, I ate a bird. Yeah. That happened. I mean, I think isn't there some weird stat about how many spiders we swallow per year in our sleep?
No, we're not talking about this.
Yeah, don't sleep with your mouth open, everybody. Yeah, it's just a bad idea. And we already talked about the totally unbelievable number of pandas that are purported to be in the wild. But China probably has no intentions of reintroducing them into the wild. And even though that's the dream of the zoos that have been able to breed them in captivity to one day return them to the wild, it's probably a worthless endeavor.
It's total.
China wants money for pandas.
They said
And they've spent an absolute ton of money. George, talk about what they've done for people to pay to view pandas in the wild, in quotation
they
marks.
restricted their entire range into places that people go see. So it'd be like going to Northwest Track to
Right.
see an elk.
Yeah, you got to give your token to get on the tram.
Right. That's exactly it. They think that unseen panda is a wasted panda,
Right,
and unless you can go see it, watch it, pay for it, it's useless.
right. If it doesn't make money, if it's not a working panda,
Right.
yeah, my bottom
that's
bottom
entirely
bitch
it.
panda.
That's entirely it. And when you have the artificial insemination, that's
They're
a
just
panda-
Chinese horse.
No, it's a panda farm. It's a panda farm, just like the
Right.
black bears, just like the reindeer. They're shitty, just totally shitty.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing good to say about
Panda shitty.
No, I have nothing good to say about Chinese and animals at all.
I think we found this out about, and I've said it on as recently as our giant Asian salamander. Anything you put like an Asian moniker on, they're endangered, and it's because they eat them. They think they're magical. They use them for weird Chinese medical cures. Whether it works or not, it doesn't matter. They think like deer penis can cure tuberculosis. I mean, this is a weird culture, but it's been that culture for thousands of years,
Yeah.
and it's been a really hard process to educate those people to say this doesn't work. Going to these weird little shops and stuff, that doesn't work.
At
It's like
at
visiting
best,
the voodoo shops in New Orleans.
At best,
That
it's just,
stuff doesn't
it's
work.
just food.
Right.
At best,
Right.
it's food.
Correct. Yeah. And the only happy note I'll leave you with, despite of everything, is pandas had been listed as endangered since 1990, and they were downgraded to vulnerable with increasing populations in 2016. Yeah. So it is a little bit of a success story, and every panda is a panda. But to expect the San Diego Zoo to produce twins all the time that become the immediate property of China and think, oh, these are going to be reintroduced into the wild someday.
They sent their back.
Like, just for, did they get a rebate?
No, they just decided that it was.
Jamie.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. They didn't renew their contract. Let's put it that way.
So they have no pandas at all at the San Diego Zoo anymore?
No.
U.S. will have no pandas.
Oh, DC's got them.
No, they'll be gone.
The Smithsonian.
It's done.
Ah,
The deal's done. They're not going to give us any more.
wow.
Smithsonian Zoo has pandas now.
Which is weird because it was like a total diplomacy thing. Like way
Yeah.
back when.
The
but-
Smithsonian Zoo has
you know.
pandas now. And
So
they
now only Russia can get pandas after the most
Oh.
recent meeting with Putin?
Yeah.
Freaking commie pandas.
the DC Zoo
Honestly,
has a pair of pandas and a baby, and the baby's actually going back here by the end of the year, I believe.
There's not going to be any more pandas in the U.S.
And
They're going to end it.
I'm just going to say, why?
They hit us.
No, it's got nothing to do with it. They just don't want to spend the money on it. San Diego Zoo has
No.
actually talked. San Diego Zoo.
Look at our
actually
national
talked-
debt and figure out $1 million per panda per year.
Has actually
Like,
talked
that's peanuts.
about bringing them back in the future.
Thank you.
So it's just, yeah.
That's me.
Don't fondle Philip's cost here.
It's true. Do you have any additional
No,
stuff?
I'm done.
I thought you had something about how pandas got their spots.
I can try.
I mean, you don't have to tell it
quickly.
if you don't want to. I can finish this thing up.
Let's just do it real
Put a
quick.
nice bright bow on it.
Basically,
Looking at you in that hat is just so freaking weird.
long time ago, pandas were snow white. They were white like snow. Now there were 4 shepherdesses, and that were friends with the pandas,
I don't think
and they watched their flocks in the mountains near their village. Now one day, the shepherdesses were playing with a cub panda, and a leopard leapt out of the brush and tried to attack the cub. Now the girls threw themselves in front of the cub to save it, and were killed. Now all the pandas in the area were saddened by the deaths and held a memorial service for them and their bravery. Now to remember them, their sacrifices, that pandas wore black ashes on their arms, which is a tradition in that area. Now, as they were crying, they wiped their eyes, and then when there was too much crying, they couldn't stand the grief, they covered their ears. And then at the end, they went and hugged each other. And to this day, and then after the memorial service, they decided to honor them. They wouldn't wash it off. So to this day, they still have those black and white markers.
So like they hugged Justin Bieber.
Yes.
Like, I'll never wash again. That's actually one of the coolest folklore things I think you've come up with in a while.
And there's a similar one in China that I decided we're going to go to bed.
We're gonna put it to bed.
Yeah, we're going to put it to bed.
Yeah.
Hey,
All right. Yeah.
I think
What?
we're done.
Yeah. One last thing to end this off with. This is an awesome story known as the Tainan fake panda incident. On Christmas Eve in 1987, a private zoo in Tainan, Taiwan, unveiled their very own giant panda, and it very quickly created a ton of skepticism because, first of all, China and Taiwan aren't exactly pals. By January 3rd, 1988, officials from the Council of Agriculture and zoology experts from National Taiwan University came out and determined that the panda in question was actually a sun bear, also known as the Malay bear, that had been dyed black and white to resemble a panda. And if you recall, in the beginning, when I said that the Chinese name for pandas was Da Zhang Mao, meaning giant bear cat, this incident gave rise to a clever way to mock the zoo, and the term Da Mao Zhang, meaning giant cat bear, was created to refer to pandas in Taiwan as basically counterfeit pandas. So,
bullshit panda.
yeah, and there was no way that Taiwan had a panda that China didn't know about. So They knew right
nobody
from
did.
the get-go. And the funny thing, I read a little bit deeper into this, and this dude had like an industrial park, and he built a zoo as part of it. And when the experts first came in, he tried to say that this was a hybrid panda that was only native to Taiwan. And they were like, you are full of crap, bro. This is not a real thing. You don't have a panda. This is a sun bear. And we probably will talk about sun bears. But yeah, Mia's back.
Yeah, but
All right.
trying to.
Let's go.
He's good at assembly, though.
I hate commies.
Pandas stand on their feet when they go potty.
Pandas stand on their hands sometimes in handstands to pee.
Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, yeah, the males do to get the pee-pee as high up as they can on the tree. I've never tried that, but it would probably work.
Here we go.
Why do pandas like all movies?
Max?
They're in black and white.
Oh. That's brilliant. I love that. George, you got anything else to add to the communist nature of pandas or
I hate
Like
commies.
that
Oh,
beefs against
yeah.
Chairman Mao?
Oh, jeez. He created the whole entire problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, Google Earth, and you'll see little spots that are equally spaced all around the whole entire country.
Mhm.
It's horrible.
All right.
I have something here.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
First off, thank you guys for hiring me as your producer for 100 episodes. I can't believe we've done that. I always look forward to Sunday mornings, whether I'm hungover or not.
Sleeping
Yeah.
or not.
Usually.
It's surprising you guys haven't fired me yet, but over these past 100 episodes, I've been collecting and secretly recording you guys before we go
Oh,
on the air. So I have a bit of a blooper, very inappropriate track here that I'm going to play for everybody.
Worth it.
Yeah. So here we go.
Live in the TCN network and the beef.
Are we ready?
Yep.
Are we ready, Mac?
George, you ready? Now we're good out, George.
Yeah, now we're really ready.
Let's go.
All right.
Just ate a baby seal. Delicious.
Mm.
Yeah.
Nom, 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 nom.
That sounds good. With an apple in now. Or pluot.
All right, here we go.
Grinder finally came through. Been up all night drinking whiskey.
I better stand up and bend over.
Not that kind of show. Not that kind of show.
No, don't tone it down, George. You're on it. And I'm doing this weird. I didn't write anything down.
Yeah. The old Dolly Parton behind a tree never gets old.
Yeah. I'm going to go into a toad, but not that one.
Max is gonna get a party beer, party beer, party beer.
You like it when I tickle my nipples.
That is hot. God, I want to tickle so many nipples.
George, don't look so excited.
It's a rusty trombone. Like, I don't know what it is, but I want to try it. You've never danced, Debbie? Like, where are we gonna put the bed? There's a pole installed in the middle of this room.
That's for the outtake show.
Oh, karate chop my own cord. God, so shitty. Yippee.
I don't know. Pull your pants down. Let's see.
George, we love you. Both hands behind his head, just gyrating. Like, that's how I picture Mark all the time. Yeah, puff your cheeks. Yeah, it's definitely a stroke. You gotta send a flashlight into one of his eyes. Yeah.
I'm always recording.
It's
Yeah,
true.
you are.
Yeah,
And that's the tame stuff.
that was really the tame stuff. Max and I had a fun conversation over text of why a couple of things didn't make it into that highlight reel. It's because they weren't appropriate to play for
Yeah.
a live audience.
No.
Right.
I can't believe I said any of that.
Oh, believe it and more.
Well, you've always been all about nipples, George. Yeah. Everyone knows that. You have a knot on your cord right now, by the way. I can see it. Yeah,
Oh,
that'll
that's
do.
it.
That'll do. All right. Beer review.
Beer review.
Did anyone else have sturdy gurdy tonight? John did. Woo! What are you gonna give it, John? Approach the microphone. Give us your number. 1 out of 10.
Delicious.
I give it
8.5.
That's low.
I'm actually
That's
I'll
actually.
give it a 9.5.
too late. No take back.
You know what's funny is I was gonna be right in the same zone you started with. Probably 8.5. I could maybe press it into a 9. As it warms up, it gets a little more malty, and that's not my jam. But as it stays cold, the hops in this and the 100 IBUs are fantastic.
It's super, super smooth.
Yeah, I wish Jim was here. He would tell us all about this.
He wouldn't be back till Monday.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give it a
Jim.
9.
A 9.
I'm gonna give it a 9. I actually
Wow.
really liked it.
I like it too, but I'd have to have somebody come and pick me up.
Right. Well, you've got her. She's over there. Her name is Michelle. Have you met her? Hello, Michelle.
Archie's mom.
Archie's here as well. Yeah, your wiener's here in a bag
It's Harry.
that Michelle holds hostage. Yeah, much like most of our wives do.
She's got my peanuts.
So what about the snack?
My wiener. Right.
What about your panda?
The pandas I love, and if it wasn't for George, I would have never noticed the butthole they inject the flavor with on the back of these crusty bastards. The printing can go awry.
Yeah.
They don't always look like pandas, but
Yeah.
in terms of a crunchy, cream-filled snack, I'd have to give them an 8.5 as well on
I'm gonna go
snacks
with that
today. So.
Dude,
Now you fight.
I kind of wish I was the audience and I was going over to Phil Bowles with those peppercini chips. I'm serious. Anybody that's still here, go over and get a bowl of those butter and truffle chips.
Oh yeah, that's the.
They are unbelievable.
Positive.
The first 10 I think I ever gave to a snack.
Best chip ever.
They are the best chips ever. Not that the pepperoncinis aren't, because I almost think I gave those a 9.5.
something like that.
It's kind of the best of the best, and we didn't even talk about the fact that the other one are like what are the chili, sweet chili
Sweet chili lime.
children's ears?
Children's ear.
Yeah, they're shrimp chips, but if you go look at them in a bowl, they literally look like baby ears.
That's nothing I would
Yeah.
have said.
Yeah, well, you came up with it.
All right.
Okay, I got a joke.
Right. All right.
I got a joke.
Michelle's up.
All right, so I got 2 jokes.
Oh
I
my
found 2
goodness.
that I really like.
Yeah, you can't just Google jokes and approach the mic, ma'am.
Why was the panda drunk?
Why were we drunk?
He was with George.
He'd been on the bamboos again.
There it is.
What do bears eat for breakfast?
Whatever they want.
Panda cakes.
Panda.
All right.
I love it.
All right. Are we
All
done?
right.
Why don't you want to do business with the monkey? Because there's too much give and take.
Oh,
That's my own joke.
nice.
All right. Good job.
Boom.
All right. Shall we
That's how we do.
shall we end this with a bang?
Yes.
George.
I mean, you need to take that hat off because I can't keep it up. Well, that's
It's
not
keeping up. All
All
right.
right.
George,
Yeah.
grab your thing.
Yeah. For real.
Not that thing. Not that thing.
Yeah. George, that thing. The blue thing. All right. Yeah. Jamie has to sweep this up when we're done.
It's going to be on the carpet so we can vacuum it.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the 200 more.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Cheers.
10,
2,000
9.
Yeah. That's good.
Well done.
Good job.
Excellent show.
Episode 100.
Yeah. Yours are so sweaty.